welcome so much to this webinar, Winning Tenders in West Africa, Building Proposal Capabilities that Deliver Results. I am Izan Kluter-Hamilton. I'm from nFold, and I'm really delighted that you're here today. So at nFold, we help organizations win tenders, proposals, pitches, business, basically, by applying global best practices when it comes to bids and proposals. Now, as Africa's only APMP-authorised training organization, and one of, I think, 14 in the world, if I'm correct, I've seen firsthand how professionalizing proposal capabilities can transform results for the individuals, bid teams, and in fact, entire organizations. So today we'll be tackling a challenge that every bidder and consultant and non-profit organization really understands, and that is, why do strong organizations still lose tenders? Now, across West Africa, the world really, teams are delivering great work, but they keep on missing out. And it's not because of weak ideas, but I think because their proposals don't meet the standards that procurement bodies expect. So to help me tackle this topic today, I'm joined by two incredible colleagues who bring both global and local perspectives. Larissa Cornelius. Hi, Larissa. Larissa is the Chief Win Strategist of nFold and an APMP certified professional. She has over 2 decades of experience helping organizations build winning proposals and proposal teams. She has trained hundreds of APMP professionals and is recognized internationally for her work in proposal strategy and business winning communication. We are also joined by Esther Dogby, who joins us from Ghana. Esther is an experienced bid manager and a newly certified APMP Foundation level professional. She is a real passionate advocate for proposal best practices. Now, as we're going to be spending some time together today, Esther will be sharing her story about how she, and not too long ago, first heard of the APMP, the Association of Proposal Management Professionals. Now, before she heard about the APMP, she was managing proposals like most of us have done in the past by learning through trial and error, working late, and just hoping that the best effort pays off. But then she stumbled across the APMP. She, like I said, recently earned her certification, and the rest, like they say in the movies, is history. So over the next hour, we'll unpack what separates successful proposals from the rest. We'll be sharing a lot of data from several reports and surveys, and we will show you how the APMP best practices is helping organizations around the world to raise their game. Now, before we dive in, I've prepared a couple of polls for us today. I like to run a few polls and understand who is in the room today. So let me just activate the first poll. And it is loading. There we go. Let me just give me 1 second so I can press the right buttons. There we go. You should see it in a minute. All right, so the question is, what type of organization do you represent today? So just tick and we will show the results in a second or two. Okay. Right, can everybody see the poll? The answers The actual poll, not just the questions. Great. Thanks, Larissa. Okay. Let's look at some of the results so far. Okay, very interesting. So we have a small number of donor, funder, or development partners. We have a very large number of corporate, business, large or SME, and then some consultants, service providers, or intermediaries. All right, so let me just stop sharing. That's actually quite good to know. So a rather healthy mix, I think, across the different sections. One thing that I forgot to mention is that today is not a theoretical discussion. It's a very practical look at how structured proposals and improved capabilities changes outcomes. But we need to start by facing the real issue. Why capable organizations, despite strong offerings, keep losing tenders? And I'm going to hand over to Larissa.
So hi, everybody. Well, everywhere I go, teams tell me the same story. They spend weeks preparing proposals, long nights, last-minute edits, endless approvals, and still don't win or don't win enough. So win rates really suffer. And the global statistics show that, we are working really hard. We're following a lot of volume, but our win rates, we are winning or we are losing more than we are winning. And that certainly should not be the case if we are using best practice. So it's frustrating because the product or the service is strong, yet the proposal doesn't make the shortlist. Most of the time, it's not the idea that loses, it's the lack of strategy, structure, and clarity in how that idea is presented. A missing compliance item, a confusing layout, a weak value story. These small issues add up to big losses, and it's not unique to any one region. You can see on the data that Azan is sharing that there's a global capability gap. And when we talk about a capability gap, we're talking about a skills capability gap. So these challenges are not just African, they're global. The difference is that in many markets, proposal management has evolved into a formal discipline. But we are still a little bit behind in Africa. If we look at the UK and the US, who have thousands, hundreds of thousands of proposal consultants and members, where we're only sitting at hundreds within Africa. So there's a lot to learn and to adopt. Winning organizations, and that's really the point of today's session, is that we want to close this capability gap. Winning organizations use best practice frameworks like the APMP, the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, at every stage of the business development lifecycle, because we can't take the proposal process out of the overall business development lifecycle. And therefore, the gap is not just for proposal teams, it's our sales teams, it's our subject matter experts, it's our graphic designers, it's our editors, it's everybody that's involved in the proposal process.
Yeah. And you know what? That's the gap. If other teams are working to global standards and you are not, then you are competing at a disadvantage. Even if your solutions are very strong. So let's take another poll. And this one says, how many tenders? And in tenders, we also mean sales proposals, those sorts of things. So don't think just formal tenders. How many tenders have you almost won this year? In other words, lost. I'm going to give it a second or two, and then we'll quickly look at the results. All right. Wow. There's a couple that say they have not lost any tenders this year. Now, it could be because they haven't submitted any or because they are really that good. And I hope it's the latter. Then we've got about 30% or 28% to be specific of our audience that says they have almost won, aka lost 1 to 3 proposals. There's a good 31% that says 4 to 6, and then a whopping 37% that they have lost so many proposals this year, they have lost count. Yeah, it's not something that is very unfamiliar to us. Esther, what is your opinion? What do you see in West Africa? Are these similar? Is Esther here? Oh dear. Okay. I think she might have lost
connectivity.
But you know, when we prepped for this, we asked Esther the same question, and what she said is that this is really what she sees in Ghana as well. The expertise are there, the skills are there, but they've got great individuals, but the proposals are often developed under huge pressure with very little time to structure, to have proper reviews. And their teams are also very small, usually just two or 5 people, yet they handle the same amount of volume that most other organizations around the globe also have. Ilse, I see your hand is up, and I also noticed someone saying that Esther's mic is disabled. Let's see if it's something that I can fix on my side. If you will give me 1 second. Let me just find her on the, there we go. Make a presenter. Yes. Sorry about that. Esther, are you now here?
Yes.
Sorry about that glitch in technology, but I'm going to hand back to you.
Yes. Thank you very much. And so for me, that's exactly the same thing I've also seen here in West Africa. We have all the experts and professionals here delivering great results. But the main challenge here is that we work with very tight schedules and sometimes do not even have enough time to do proposal reviews before submitting and to even improve them before the deadlines. So what we've seen so far is, according to the Africa Salary Trend Report 2025, typically proposal teams are between 2 to 5, as you can see from the report, and they handle a total of about 252 proposals a year. That's very huge. And also about 60% experiment with AI, and it's mostly for editing and not strategic work. That really improves win rates. And less than 10% uses proposal softwares. So that's what the report has given us so far. So generally, you have all the talent and effort here in the region, but the major challenge is the structure, the process, the recognition that can turn good proposals into winning ones here. Yes, so that's what we have seen so far in the region, and we are hoping that it will improve from time to time. Thank you.
Exactly. You know, the data proves it's not a question of only capacity. Of course, if we look at the global stats versus these local stats, what we are seeing is that, you know, we are dealing with much smaller proposal teams than our global counterparts, but we're dealing with the same volume. And then also, Esther, on the AI, we're mainly using it for editing, but we're not using AI as much or proposal software as much as our global counterparts, where they're finding efficiency. So already there is indicating some capability gaps in terms of an adoption of technology gaps, as well as skills gaps that we need to close the gap ultimately. But really skilling up our capability is critical, because once we bring in proper processes and language of professional proposal management, then everything else starts to improve. Quality, confidence, consistency, and success rates. And that's really what we're in it for, right? We're here to win proposals ultimately. So if the problem is global, and well, it's not just global, we also have a little bit to catch up from an African perspective. We can clearly see what's missing. The next question is really simple. What does success actually look like? And that's where we will go next. So now that we've defined the problem, there's a capability gap. Let's talk about what winning actually looks like. And when we analyze hundreds of proposals from across industries, there's one consistent truth. Winning isn't about luck. It's about structured approach. High-performing proposal teams build on the same 4 key pillars. So we've tried to reduce these 4 key pillars for you. The first is really around RFP alignment, and that is really clear that, alignment with the RFP, winning proposals follow the requirements precisely that the customers ask. They don't go and reinvent the brief or bury answers in the storytelling. It's showing how your approach, it's really showing that we answer exactly what is asked in the format that the evaluators have asked for. So I think that's sort of the basic rules that we should, or most of us should, understand. The second pillar is really around strategic value communication. And that is really means connecting our solution to the client's business or mission impact, not just listing activities, but showing how our approach solves their problem better than anyone else's. I love to say the customers don't care about you, not until you tell them how you're going to solve their problem and their needs. Then and only then are they going to want to know, can you do it? Where have you done it before? And why should I choose you versus anybody else? And then the third pillar is really around technical, commercial, and compliance excellence. And these 3 must work together. You can have the best solution in the world, but if pricing is unclear, or if you've missed the mark completely, or your compliance is weak, it won't matter at all. So we still have to make sure that we're ticking the boxes, we understand what our competitive benchmarks are before we go ahead there. And then the fourth, often overlooked, is team coordination and repeatable processes. And this is probably where I would start, because winning organizations treat proposals like a managed system, not a last-minute project, although I know they often feel that way. They plan, assign roles, and use lessons learned from every bid to improve the next one. And this, and setting that foundation process is absolutely critical. So those 4 pillars are really vital in terms of making sure we put the right impact together. And then according to the Lupio 2025 Trends Report, teams that use structured processes win 30 to 40% more often than those don't. So if you want a strong business case of why you probably need to relook at your business development process, that probably is it. And the same research shows that top performing teams spend more time on planning and reviews, not just writing whatever to meet the requirement or the deadline pressure. So winning isn't about having one superstar writer or one proposal person. It's really about a consistent process that every member of the team understands and applies. So winning really is a team sport.
Yes,
Esther, what do you think?
Yes. So for Larissa, that's so true. It resonates so well with what I see across Africa as well, West Africa here too. Most of us know exactly what a strong proposal looks like, but without clear processes and procedures, everything becomes so reactive. When new RFPs come up, and the question that also comes up we have about 3 questions that we normally see coming up anytime there's a new RFP. 1, which team does the proposal relate to? This is a question that always comes up. Which team is responsible for this RFP that we are going to handle at this point? It's one of the questions. And then who's writing which sections? Because the proposal comes up with very different sections, which needs different teams to get involved. And then also, when are we going to do the review? We have time. We have to set times for the reviews. And most of the times, the challenge we have here is that because the time that is not available, we end up not even doing the reviews before the submission. So all these questions come up for us to be able to address anytime a new RFP comes up. So we end up spending more time coordinating the proposal and spend less time on developing the proposal as well. So before we realize the deadline is due, we are not able to do the submissions, or probably we do a review before submitting. But for example, when I came across APMP, one of the best practices that we came across is one, we have something like we call the compliance checklist, the review schedule. And these documents can make a great difference in the proposal development process and submission, and can help the team move from reactive to proactive, as I said earlier. For me, since I have started practicing some of these APMP principles, the result has been massive, and that we are able to submit our bids confidently and on time to avoid problems of not winning the bids on time. So those are some of the things I have seen so far in the improvement as well.
Thanks. So that was quite a list of challenges that you've mentioned there. And I think it's a good idea now to ask the audience again, what are some of the biggest challenges that they typically experience when it comes to submitting bids and proposals? Is it compliance? Is it the value? What exactly are the challenges that they're experiencing? If I'm right, you can see the poll. Yep. Okay. And as usual, we'll just give it a minute or two to get some of the answers in. All right, so compliance and alignment is definitely an issue. And then it's almost, except for time pressure, it's almost an even-steven approach here, with too many issues, team coordination, articulating value. I mean, there's quite a lot of issues that we as bid managers experience. And I'm interested, well, it's interesting to see that it's time pressure again and again, because there's a theory, there's a principle that says no matter how much time you have, the task will take as much time as you have. And I always forget what the principle is called, but okay. All righty, so since we are talking about what winning proposals actually require, let's look at some tips that you can implement immediately to help improve your proposal. So, like I said, this is not a theoretical presentation or webinar. We want to give you some real, actual, I want to say, takeaways that you can literally do immediately. So one of the biggest things that you can do and that will immediately improve your win rate is to qualify before you bid. The better your qualification discipline is, the better your proposals will be. Not everything that looks like you can respond to must be responded to. The second thing is to plan your response. You need to plan to win. It doesn't just come automatically. You have to set timelines, assign the responsibilities, and I think instead of just reading the RFP twice, I think we should read it 3 times before we start. Then one of our favorite tools up our sleeves is to develop a content library. That's where you keep your statutory and compliance documentation up to date, CVs, case studies, resumes, templates, but also things like your standard write-ups, whether it's a project methodology or an implementation plan. You don't want to start from scratch all the time. The fourth tip we have here is to think like the evaluator. If you were to evaluate quite ruthlessly and brutally what you submit, how well would you score it? Is it structured in a way that the evaluator can find the information easily? The fifth tip is you have to have a win theme. You have to have that golden thread that clearly tells the client, the evaluator, why they should select you and not one of the other 10 or 20 or 100 proposals that they've received in response. The sixth tip that we have for you today is to make it visual. We live in a visual world, whether it is Facebook or LinkedIn or Pinterest or Instagram or X or wherever you get your content from. It is very visual. So make your proposal the same way that it can be read and understood very quickly. You are writing not about yourself. It is not about how great you are when your company was formed. You must always write to your reader, whether it is a financial reader, a business reader, and when I say reader, I mean evaluator. So write to the person who's going to read. Mention your client more than yourself. The next tip is what Tom Sant, Dr. Tom Sant, one of the gurus in the proposal world, coined as fluff, guff, geek, and weasel. Those are the big, vague claims. It's the jargon. It's passive voice. It really is language that has no place in a proposal because it is not persuasive. Then the ninth tip is that you must review. You can't just write your proposal and submit without reviews. And these reviews are not for does it look pretty or are there spelling mistakes? Of course, you need to check for that as well. But it is far more important to review your pricing to make sure that your win themes came through, your solution strategy came through. And then the last tip here is to learn from experience. Have a post-bid review internally after every major proposal that you've submitted. Implement those lessons learned. That way, you can do better and be better the next time you are responding to a bid. So that was just a quick look at some of the tips that we have for winning proposals. And I think the problem we often face is that in this age of internet everywhere and AI, it's easy to go tap, 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 and you get information. But you don't get transformation. And that's the difference. It is this transformation, and yes, a lot more that you will gain and that you'll learn if you embark on this journey of professionalizing your either your bid office or your own proposal capabilities. It's that aha moment when things just make sense and you look back and you go, wow, look how well we have done now. So when a professional proposal management system, organization, ecosystem becomes systematic, then success follows. So if we can have a quick look at what some of the organizations and individuals that have embarked on this professionalizing journey have said so far is that 86.9%, and these are of individuals who have completed their practitioner certification. Larissa's going to explain more about that later. But 86.9% have said that they have significantly improved their confidence in applying these best practices. Remember, tap, 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 I get information. That's not what we're after. We're after transformation. And that's what they get through APMP certification. 88.4% improved the organization's internal proposal processes. That's a huge number. 33% of the individuals have either earned a promotion or a pay rise after practitioner. So it's benefits for your organization, for your bid team, but also for you as an individual. Then almost 59% improved the organization's win rate. That again that's a huge number, guys. That's a huge number. And 91.3% of respondents to this survey are tailoring proposals a lot more effectively than they have been before they started on this training. So it's really not just skills development. It's not just training. This is capability building, because teams that plan and review and learn as they go win more consistently. And you want to win consistently, not just have a one-hit wonder. You want to experience less stress. Isn't that what we're all after? Can we have more sales success with less proposal stress? And I think the lesson here is quite simple. It's not the effort that you put in that makes a difference, a difference. It's a professional, repeatable approach. So if these things are the foundation of proposal success, then the question that I ask myself is, how do we build this into our organizations here in Africa? And that is where the APMP, the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, come in. The framework, the training, the global authority. And of course, now it's time for another poll. I'd love to know how many of you have heard of the APMP before you started seeing our posts and before you joined this webinar. So click away, and I'm going to have a look at how familiar our audience is with the APMP. Very interesting. So over half are very familiar with the APMP, which I'm really happy to hear about. They're either a member or they're certified. 14%, somewhat familiar, I've heard about it. And then 30% had no idea it existed before. That's fantastic. Now you are so much better off. But now I think it's time, Larissa, that you tell us a little bit more about APMP.
So APMP, the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, is the global authority for proposal and bid management best practice. But actually, it's really a professional organization for those who want to win more. That's how I like to sell it anyway. It's an organization that defines standards used by the world's most successful proposal teams, and it sets a baseline framework or body of knowledge, terminology, and processes that make business winning predictable rather than accidental. And who I would so much rather be following a predictable process to win more than just hoping, because we always say hope is a terrible strategy. APMP was founded more than 30 years ago. APMP has over 14,500 members and growing. And of that, there's actually more, interestingly enough, more members that are certified than there are members. So there's 21,819 certified professionals across 79 countries and 27 chapters. So nearly half of its members are outside the US, where APMP started, showing just how global this profession has become. And you'll see the statistics that Azan showing, just reiterating that. But I think it's important to understand that these are the same standards used by leading organizations like Microsoft, SAP, Deloitte, PwC, IBM, and USAID implementers, and so many more corporate members are involved, because they know that certified teams win. And that's what the recent report shows, is certified APMP certified teams win up to 41% higher than non-certified teams. So there's a huge benefit, not only for personal growth within your development in this career, but also for teams to invest, or companies to invest in their proposal teams, in their sales teams, getting these certifications and upskilling where it's required. 86.9% of practitioners say certification gave them more confidence to apply best practice. So just so that you know, APMP Foundation really tests and gives you an overview of APMP best practice and tests if you understand it, where practitioner tests, can you actually apply the information using scenario-based testing? So really powerful in terms of that. And then professional means that you've actually made an impact to the industry. And 91.3% can now tailor proposal approaches effectively to different clients and contexts. And ultimately, I think in short, APMP gives teams the map, the method, and the mindset to go from reactive to strategic, which is really what we want to do if we want to win more. And yeah, and that isn't just theory. The outcomes are tangible. Remember, in that survey, 59% of certified professionals said APMP training improved or will improve their organization's win rate. And 33% reported a promotional pay rise. So there's a individual motivation as well as an organizational motivation to invest in closing this capability gap. And that tells us something powerful. When proposal management becomes a recognized skill set, it drives results and recognition. Esther, maybe you can share a little bit around your experience.
Okay, thank you, Larissa. So for me, my experience is not different from this. So before I discovered APMP, I worked on proposal for several years in a reputable technology company here in Ghana, and I understood my industry very well. But the challenge was that I didn't have a structured way to manage my bids. So everything was a bit ad hoc, and anytime a new RFP comes up, I'll have to start everything from the scratch. When I came across nFold's training on APMP, it was a complete shift for me from what I practiced previously in my company. I realized that most proposal management was not just an administrative task, but an entire profession on its own with defined stages, frameworks, and proven techniques and best practices. So for me, those are some of the things that I saw. And after completing my foundation certification recently, I finally had a roadmap for developing my proposals end to end. I knew how to plan a bid properly, involve the right people, and build compliance and review with purposes. So the biggest challenge wasn't just in the process. It was just the fact that our proposals were more professional, clear, and competitive. It was a confidence that we had in the proposal we submitted. They were more professional, clear, and competitive. And our clients noticed some of these outcomes from the training that I had. Thank you.
That's brilliant that the clients noticed. And I think as per your story, Esther, it's exactly what we see across Africa. People who've been doing great work for years realize that there's a global standard behind it and it's accessible to them. And again, once you understand that and you build that buy-in within your organization, that's where the magic happens. To be honest, the certification's the nice thing to boast about and gain, but it's the knowledge that you gain and when you implement it, that's really where the magic happens. And that's really what APMP offers, right? It offers a clear structured pathway from good to great, or at nFold we like to say from okay to awesome, and a community that supports you every step of the way. I think that's the amazing thing, is that we get to be part of a global community, but we also have this local community as APMP Sub-Saharan Africa that we can participate in. And so that's the how. APMP really is the bridge between potential and performance. And next, let's explore what it looks like in practice. So the certification levels, the resources, and the community that make up the APMP ecosystem. So I've explained a little bit of this already. Obviously, we know APMP is the Association of Proposal Management Professionals, and it's really our professional body that helps to create recognition for us as a profession in winning business, ultimately. And it brings together thousands of people from 79 countries, and that's incredible. So this is not just a niche community, it's a global profession that we are part of. And the reality is we are competing on a global scale now, even when we are competing locally, because that's what technology has done. And members range from proposal coordinators to bid managers to sales leaders to subject matter experts who are doing the writing, to capture strategists, to pricing experts, graphic designers, editors. There's a big ecosystem of stakeholders that form part of this winning business stakeholder system. And what unites them is a shared goal. And that is really to professionalize the way we as organizations and individuals compete for business and funding. Because if we do it right, we create and retain jobs, and we ultimately improve lives.
Mm. And you know what, this membership really gives you access to the incredible tools and resources that will help you do that. And like Larissa said, these are the same ones that that are used by the global giants. Some of the things that members get access to is the APMP body of knowledge. It's the foundation. It's really the living library covering every aspect of proposal management, capture planning, writing, qualification, pricing, graphics, everything. And it's constantly or consistently updated by experts. It's the basis of the foundation certification exams. Then there's APMP TV. It's a global online channel where professionals share insights, case studies, best practices. So it's webinars similar to this, but a bit shorter. Members also have access to the APMP's library, the Knowledge Center, professional journal, guides, articles, blogs, benchmarking reports, networking opportunities through the local chapters, and then the annual conferences like BPC USA and BPC Europe. BPC stands for Bid and Proposal Conference. Now, by the way, that is one of our big ambitions, is to have BPC Africa next, so that we don't all have to go to the US or to Europe, but that we bring the world to Africa.
Thanks, Hassan. And I mean, the ecosystem Hassan's talking about obviously extends to certification, and I spoke about it at high level earlier. But that's really the heart of how APMP builds capability or closes the skills gap. There are 4 signature certifications, so pretty much what your certification journey, if you're a proposal professional or a capture professional, you would typically start at foundation. Foundation, like I said, is really about that starting point and making sure you understand the foundation of best practice. So it gives you a solid foundation. I'm really rocking with these puns. You've got then the next level, which is your practitioner level, and there is a proposal practitioner level, which is the standard practitioner for those who apply these principles daily. And it's really about testing if you can apply that knowledge to scenario-based testing, as well as capture practitioner for those of you that are in the sales or in the business development phase. So really, really a good path to go. And then the last signature certification is the professional, which is really the highest level, and it recognizes senior levels. You've had to have been in the industry for at least 7.5 years, and you've got to prove that you've made an impact to the proposal industry or the discipline within your organization. And then there's also micro certifications. So, you know, many of you are in teams where the capability gaps, you might not need teams to go through the full foundation practitioner journey, but they may want to upskill, for example, on bid and proposal writing for your subject matter experts or your sales teams if they're writing, executive summaries, micro certification, graphics, you know, how do you really design and create an impact, competitive price to win, which is really around your pricing strategy, AI, which is a reality now. We've got to learn to do it cleverly, otherwise it's junk in, junk out. And that's really what this best practice provides you, is the basis to put the right information in if you're allowed to use AI. And then strategic response management. I kind of like to think of micro certifications as foundation and practitioner are really quite intense courses. It's covering the whole body of knowledge, especially practitioner. So it's really testing full understanding and your application of it. Whereas micro certifications is kind of like mastering an aspect of the best practice. So you'll just drill in to things. So it's like a masterclass in executive summaries, in proposal writing. So it's not so broad, and it allows you to focus and improve your synergies in terms of that. And different team people within your team can benefit from that. And ultimately, this is how it helps us to deepen expertise in targeted areas that directly impact on your proposal success.
Yeah, so for me, what's even more exciting is that the global community is already growing here in Africa. So for now, we have quite a number of people already in Africa here based on the report that we had. So we have about 550 certified professionals here in Africa. We currently have Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, Malawi, Nigeria, Rwanda, South Africa, and Zambia. They are all part of the APMP community now, and I'm excited to be part of it as well from Ghana. So Basically, most of them are in the foundation level, including myself, and we are hoping to build upon our skills to become practitioners and professional level as well. So for now, it's basically the foundation level, and the practitioner and professional level is already growing though, but for now it's just a foundation level. And so many of us, for the APMP certification has actually been a career defining for us. It's been career defining for us so far. Once you become a part of APMP, you stop feeling like you are working in isolation. You are not alone. You have a team to work with. You become part of a community where you can access quite a number of things. I think Larissa mentioned that earlier. You have all and then Zen as well. So you become part of a community where you can access templates, tools, mentors, and a shared language. They understand your language. They understand the proposal management language with you, and they can share ideas with you, and to also help you build your proposals to be able to win projects. So it's a professional recognition, and not just within your individual companies. So you become an asset to your company because you'll be able to advise on strategies and things that can be done right. And then as part of that, you become a part of a global community as well. So for me, I think it's an exciting thing to be part of. Thank you.
Thanks, Esther. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about APMP. It validates the work we do as proposal professionals. And that's also why we want to link to professional associations. And we want to have a common proposal language, because that's how we grow as professionals in winning business. And long gone are proposals that look like school projects. They are very strategic documents. It is not just an administration task. It is becoming a strategic task. More and more systems and tools are coming to take away the admin heavy aspects. The cleverer and the smarter we start to adopt these technologies. And that is really what it is. It's about changing the narrative of what we do. And if we don't catch up with that, then we risk being left behind, both as individuals and organizations. So it's really about recognizing the value that proposal management brings as strategic discipline within the business development process, one that directly drives revenue, funding, and organizational success.
And is that sort of impact that is transformational. We've mentioned that APMP certified teams have about a 41% higher win rate than those teams or those organizations who do not use proposal best practices. So I think the next question is, how do you get involved? Really, what are the next steps? Before we get there, I'd love to know, out of all these resources that we've mentioned that APMP makes available to members, what do you think would be the most valuable to you? So, poll number 5. I sound like I'm doing bingo. Poll number 5, stay alive. High five.
Oh, I can only choose one.
Only choose one. So what do you think would add the most value to you, your team, or your organization? Have a look at the results. Just make my screen a little bigger. Oh, it's still going like this. All right. Resources, namely the body of knowledge, templates, etc. Training or coaching is the highest, 48%. So that would be boot camps and workshops. Then we have the community, the chapters, the mentors, study groups, and then at 14%, the certification. So it seems that at the moment, what is more important to you attending this webinar is not directly embarking on certification, but growing into the training, coaching, workshop, probably familiarizing yourselves a little bit before you get too serious about this. And it makes perfect sense. It really does make perfect sense. So bringing APMP to West Africa, what are the next steps? Esther.
Yes, thank you, Eze. So for anyone who wants to be part of APMP, It's very simple, just like I did for myself. The first thing I did was to join the APMP online, join the chapter as a member first. And then after that, what you do is to go directly to the APMP Sub-Saharan Africa. That is APMP Sub-Saharan Africa, located in South Africa, or contact nFold directly. nFold is the authorized training center for APMP in South Africa. So you can join them and then they'll be able to contact them and they'll help you. So the membership of APMP gives you an instant access to the body of knowledge, including the APMP TV, the study materials, and a global network of peers who share ideas, advance, and then also encouragement. They advise you and then encourage you on what to do in terms of your APMP membership. After doing that, the second step is to sign up for the foundation certification, which I did. After doing that, the certification exam is just an entry-level certification that teaches the core principles of proposal management. That's what you learn from that. And then the training is online or in person. You can decide to sign up for the online version or sign up for the in-person. In fact, I did the online version and it was good. And the in-person was even better for my other colleagues who joined the in-person. And this is available through nFold South Africa, which is APMP's authorized training center based in South Africa. So they'll take you through the training, take you through the practicals, and then do some of the sample exams with you to become abreast with what the foundation and proposal management is all about. So it's an intensive training, and I would encourage anybody to also join to become a foundation, to start with the foundation training. And if you are ready to take it further, there are other higher levels which you mentioned earlier, like the practitioner and then the professional. So you can sign up for those ones once you get your foundation certification. If you want to take a smaller bite, there are the APMP micro certification, which I think Larissa mentioned about earlier, which is the APMP micro certification. And then this helps you specialize in areas like executive summaries, to be able to write executive summaries. You know, the executive summaries help you give a clear view of whatever happens in the proposal. So once you are able to do a good executive summary, it sets a good pace for evaluators when they're evaluating you. So it's a micro certification that focuses on only the executive summary. And then it shows you how to write graphics, designs. I think Larissa mentioned that earlier too. So every proposal, if you're able to present your proposal with good graphics, it also helps. So you go through some of those trainings. It will help you to be able to come up with a very good proposal. So for me, what this makes it so valuable is that you can apply everything immediately. It doesn't take time to be able to start practicing it. This is it. It's not just a training for training's sake. The APMP Foundation training is not just a training sake. It helps you to be able to start practicing everything right from the beginning. You have the templates, like the compliance matrix. You have all of that to be able to come up with a structure during your proposal process. So it's about transforming how you work. The trainings will help you transform how you can encourage anybody to join APMP ASAP. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Esther. And I think for teams and organizations, the opportunity is even bigger. I see a note here from Andrew Bolton saying that we have too many staff changes, so training our staff will be a never-ending cycle. And I think Deshni responded beautifully in saying, you know, I think this is one of the best benefits of getting APMP corporate membership is, you know, you do need a minimum number of members to join for that, but that means that you can also change your membership as needed, and also embedding that best practice into your processes and your tools and how work is done. You know, so once you sort of gear that up and you build that into how you do things, that's how you can start to improve the process. But again, if you are changing staff, there's something there around processes and structure that probably needs to be looked at. And then I see Roy saying he's currently joining from Zambia. Is there anything extended to part of this region? Yes, Roy, to a certain degree, APMP Sub-Saharan Africa is trying to present and create a lot more web-based aspects. Also, you can benefit from APMP TV and the body of knowledge because that's accessible as long as you've got an internet connection. As noted, one of our dreams is to create BPC Africa. We do have conferences at the moment. The majority of members are sitting in South Africa, so our conferences are still typically held in South Africa. but we are looking for members because remember, it's a non-profit based organization, APMP, so it's dealt with volunteers. So we are looking for volunteers across Africa to help to build these mini sub-communities that we can start to run local events. So if there's anything you're interested in adding value to that process, we definitely welcome it. And yeah, we can support from an nFold perspective. We are not a non-profit, so just so that we're clear in terms of that, we can support structured rollouts for corporate teams, NGOs, and donor-funded programs so that you can train multiple people at once. You can start embedding APMP best practices across your organization. So there's really multiple solutions that can tackle various challenges that you may face or have within your organization, including benchmarking. And then obviously donors, incubators, and development partners, there's even a greater impact. By funding proposal capability programs, you strengthen your entire supplier base, helping more local organizations qualify for and win formal funding opportunities. So it's one of the most sustainable ways to build regional growth. But again, you can see we're pushing APMP because that's where the professional body sits. It is a non-profit, and it is there to elevate the profession and to help us to win business more. And that's where organizations like nFold and ATOs help take that training further for you to implement those practices.
Yeah. And you know, that's probably one of the biggest objectives of this webinar today, is to open the conversations, to show what is possible, what is out there in terms of bid and proposal professionalization through APMP, through nFold, through your own local communities. It is just about giving information. And we are actually going to give you a little bit more at the end of this. There's a QR code that you can scan and you can download a very useful, practical proposal guide. So we want to give information, we want to share, we want to show what's available, what's possible, and we want to open conversations with everyone in Sub-Saharan Africa. Yes, we talk about this as a West Africa and webinar, and Esther's from Ghana, and it's simply because it's our first anchor point. So it doesn't mean it is exclusive just Ghana or just West Africa. It's Sub-Saharan Africa. That's where we want to grow our APMP professional standards into. We are about 2 minutes before we are out of time, and I would like to just find out if there's any of the questions that have been put in the chat that we haven't dealt with yet, or if anybody wants to ask a question, you can raise your hand and we can unmute. Before we wrap up, I just want to make sure that we haven't left anything or anybody sitting cold and their question haven't been answered.
I think we've answered them all, but Roy, you'll see that Carol responded to you. Carol is actually one of our nFold consultants, and she's actually based in Zambia most of the time. She is a fellow Zambian. So again, you know, this is what's so nice about these events, is that you can connect with others within your country to get their perspective.
So really now we are going to wrap up and do the thank yous, and I'm going to put another QR code on. But first a poll. I'm going to be known as Izan the poll lady. That doesn't sound right. So
We just got that.
So what do you think would be your next move? You're going to immediately join APMP or become a member, explore some training, partner with us, open the conversations, or is it a question of you can see the value, but you're not quite sure yet how to do, you know, how to make the best of what you've learned today? And of course, there's no wrong answers in this case. So what are your next steps? All right, so responses are still coming in. There's quite a large chunk of the people wanting to join and start certification and exploring training for their team. Some want to partner with nFold to build capacity. And then there's a good solid 20% who can see the value, but they're still thinking about it. And again, like I said, that's okay. Larissa, Esther, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for your insights. Thank you for bringing global, local experience and expertise to this. And thank you very much to everyone who has joined and participated. Before I put on the closing slides, the last QR codes, Larissa, to you, and then I'm going to ask Esther also for a closing remark.
Thanks. You want to stay for the QR code because that's going to give you a really nice proposal checklist and step-by-step guides with some best practices that you can really go away with and use. So please stay for that QR code. It's been an absolute pleasure to share a little bit about what APMP does and the value it can add in closing the skills capability gap. And you can go onto the APMP YouTube channel as well. There's some content on there, so you can already start to learn and start benefiting, but APMP members get a little bit more, so highly recommend that you check that out.
Thanks, Larissa. Esther.
Okay, thank you, Zane. So for me, I would recommend that if you are ready, just go for it. Just start now. Just sign up for the training. And hopefully a year from now, you would look back and realize how structure, clarity, and confidence you gained by going through the training. So not just for yourself, but also for the organization, the companies that you work for. It's going to change things. It's a game changer, and things are going to change in terms of proposal management processes a year from now, hopefully. So when we raise the standard in West Africa, we open doors for local talents to win globally. It's not just about catching up. It's about leading the way in the proposal management process. So that's my closing remark.